So we are 6 rounds into the NRL competition already, and there's probably enough time for us to have a look at who is, like how the teams are playing out for so far for this season. Like what team's going to be there towards the end of the season. Obviously, we've still got 19 rounds of football left to go, or is it 21? They've got 27 rounds this season. It's absolutely ridiculous, but sort of have to look at the way the teams are shaping up. So let's have a look at whether your team has met, failed, or exceeded expectations for 2023, starting from at the bottom of the ladder, working your way up to the top. Now, West Tigers, I'm so sorry, Tigers fans. We'll try and make this quick, but the Tigers have obviously failed expectations. They have been abysmal. You've gone 6 rounds and haven't won a game, and it's the quality of the performances. Obviously, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I think there was just so much hype and anticipation around the Tigers this season because they had so many new signings. They brought in Coruscant, Publi, Bateman, Clemmer. It's so much positivity, not positivity, like hype around the club, expectation almost, that they're going to be a lot better, and they're still just abysmal. And it shows you that the fish stinks from the head. The problem isn't the playing group at the Tigers, and I'll just leave it at that. That's a story for another time. Now, in 16th is the Canberra Raiders, who made the finals last year, and for obvious reasons are failing expectations. I think a lot of people, especially Canberra fans, thought they'd be up and around that same spot, but they've been pretty poor. Yes, they got a win, like a really good win over the Broncos last week, but they also got pumped and had 50 put on the week before by Penrith. So, look, it's sort of the way that the Raiders are this year. They either rock up and are really gritty and play good footy, or they just roll over straight away. And if you're a Raiders fan, it's not what you want to see. Obviously, this week they get Tarpanay Whiten back and Kotrick as well on the wing, and it's sort of and once Xavier Savage is fit enough and comes back to the first grade, I feel like we'll see a lot different Raiders team. But for now, 100% they are failing expectations because they're meant to be up in the top 8, man, not down 16th. Now, 15th is the North Queensland Cowboys, and again, this is a team that, they were top 4 last season, and they haven't had much roster turnover. They've lost a couple of their depth players, but nothing's really changed that much for the Cowboys. They're in 15th. They've won 2 games all season. They are failing expectations. They should have been building on this year. They should have been going, all right, we got top 4 last year, but, we bounced out. Did they make the prelim? I can't remember now. But they should be all right, we're going to try and win the comp this year. And they haven't been very good so far. Obviously, they've had a few injuries and players suspended and things like that. Things aren't going their way, but every club has that. So it's not really that much of an excuse. They're losing games that they definitely should win. And obviously, there's so much time for them to turn it around. But I don't. As if you're a Cowboys fan, I'd probably be a little bit worried at the moment. Why aren't the players playing as well? What's going on in the club? In 14th is the Parramatta Eels, and I sort of feel sorry for the Eels in a way because they've had such a tough draw. But then at the same time, if you want to be the best team, you have to beat the best teams. So, what's your excuse there in terms of oh yeah, we've had a tough draw, but don't you want to win a comp? You have to beat the better teams if you want to do that. So, and I get they've had teams coming off the bye and this and that, and they're fresh, but I don't know. They're just not playing very well. I don't know, it just seems like they look tired almost, and it probably is because they're versing teams off the bye and they've been having really, really close games. We're 6 rounds in and they've lost 4 games and their for against is -13. The average, pretty much every single game they've had has been super tight. And was it first round they went into extra time, and that just set them off on the wrong foot straight away. It just plays under so much fatigue, but I don't know, I feel like the Eels will turn it around. They've got the Dogs this week, and then I feel like the draw gets a little bit softer. If they can string a couple wins together, then they'll start to look a lot better because the comp's really even this year. So a couple wins gets them, they're currently 14th on 4 points. They're still 2 games off second after 6 rounds. So there's definitely potential for them to really shoot up the ladder if they get a couple good wins there. But yeah, for sure, they're failing expectations so far this season. They made the grand final last year. They shouldn't be 4th last. And for the Bulldogs, this one might be controversial, what I'm going to say, but I think, for myself anyway, they've met expectations in terms of being 13th, 3 wins, 3 losses. Yes, they probably could. There's a couple of games where they probably could have won, especially that one over in New Zealand against the Warriors. But they've just been decimated by injury. I think they've already got 11 forwards that have been injured so far this season. Tavita Pangai Jr. is back, and Kikau's now out for an extended period of time with a torn pec. But yeah, and Addo Carr's out as well, and that's just something that's going to help hurt him in terms of on the field with leadership, I suppose, but just looking over on the around the dressing room going, oh, we got Addo Carr today, we'll be alright. I don't know. I do feel sorry for the Dogs because they've just been given a pretty bad run of it, but I don't know, you'd expect them to be like, I think a lot of Bulldogs fans probably expected them to be going a bit better than they are, but for now, like, but I don't know. I reckon they're about where they probably should be in terms of their rebuilding their club. And again, same thing with the Eels. String a couple wins together, and we're talking very differently about the Bulldogs. So I honestly think they'll be fine. Now, to 12th, my St.GEORGE Illawarra Dragons. Honestly, for a lot of people, they probably exceeded expectations because they were predicted by a wooden spoon for a lot of people, including myself. But I'm going to say they've met expectations. They haven't been great so far this season. Obviously, like, they're playing a lot more heart and ticker, which is obviously good to see as a Dragons fan. They're not just rolling over and that sort of thing. But, I mean, apart from that Broncos game, we don't talk about that. I don't know. It's hard for me. I really wish they had a won on the weekend against the Titans, obviously. I don't know. We've been in every game this season, well, maybe not so much the Sharks one, but even then we were still only down by 4 points at halftime. Like, we've been in every game this season, which is promising signs for a Dragons fan, but also not, because we're not capitalizing on that. But yeah, I think, like, Dragons probably aren't going to make the finals. This is about where you expect them to be, and for that reason and that reason alone, I'm going to say they are meeting expectations. Now, over to 11th, their Dragons crosstown rivals, the Sharkies. They're down 11th. They were top 4 last year, and honestly, they are failing expectations. I love the Sharkies. Love the way they play. Love the players they've got and that sort of thing. But to be 6 rounds in and haven't won 2 games for the Sharks, who were in top 4 last year, it's not good enough. I mean, they've lost a couple tight games and games against good clubs and stuff. Like, that Warriors game, they definitely shouldn't have lost. And again, straight away, like, they don't lose that game, then you're putting them in, like, they'd be sitting 4th right now if they had an extra 2 points with their for and against. So, like, the thing with the comp is it's so, like, up and down and different, but it's so competitive and close. But unfortunately for the Sharks, like, they should be going better than they are, and that's why I'm going to say they're failing expectations for now. In 3 or 4 weeks' time, you 100% could say they're meeting or exceeding expectations. That's just the way the comp is this year. And moving on to 10th with the Rabbitohs, I think it's the same story there. Like, 3-3, they haven't got off to a bad start. They've got a positive for and against. Like, they've got, like, a lot of players finding format. They looked really, really good on the weekend against the Bulldogs. And if that is a sign of what's to come, far out, the comp's in trouble. Like, Campbell Graham's been really, really good so far this season. They've had a few troubles with injuries as well. Like, Tavita Satola has been out. Like, their 4-pack's been pretty ripped apart as well, like the Dogs. And that's the thing. Like, they will come good. They'll 100% be in the finals. Come September, come finals time, like, they'll be in the top 8 for sure. But I don't know, for me, it's hard to say, because, I mean, okay, look at it this way. At the start of the season to now, like, if at the start of the season you had said at end of round 6 the Rabbitohs will be in 10th, I will say they've failed to expectations, because they should be up around that top 4 mark. Yes, it's a long season, but they're the better side. You expect that from them. Now, over to the Manly Warringah Seagulls, who currently sit in 9th place with 7 points, because they've had 1 draw. They've also won 2 games and lost 2 games, so they're pretty much like out of 5 games. So we've got a pretty neutral record. They've shown patches of being brilliant. They've been shown patches of being like 2021 of Manly, like, oh, wow, they're good. But they've also shown patches like we saw on the weekend against Panthers, going, oh, they stink. I don't know how to read Manly. Turbo, obviously, that looks like a shadow of himself, and that's an issue within itself, but I'm going to talk about that today. I don't know. I really don't know how to read Manly at the moment. Like, they could go on a run and make the finals, or they could go on a bad run and finish towards the bottom of the ladder, but I think they're meeting expectations at the moment in terms of being around that middle table. I don't know what the answer is for Manly in terms of improving and pushing themselves up. It's probably, honestly, just around Tommy Turbo's confidence. If he can get back to thinking he can run through absolutely anything, which he can, then they'll be fine. But if not, then I don't know. You have to look for other people to step up. 8th, Newcastle Knights, straight away exceeding expectation. And that's like from the start of the season. I thought, look, maybe they were smoky for the 8 towards the back end of the year for some players, find some form, that sort of thing. But no, I waited. I think they'd be 8th after 6 rounds. And especially after losing Kalen Ponga, like, I get, it's funny. The Knights actually play better without Kalen Ponga because they're not trying to push everything through him. And they don't have that weight of expectation on them. Like, when they just go out there and just play footy, it's unreal. Lockie Miller has been a revelation for them. He's leading the comp in, I believe, tackle busts, run meters, and total runs. Like, he's just an absolute workhorse, and he's been great for the Knights. Really, really good pickup. And other guys like Jackson Hastings has been playing really well. Unfortunately, they've just lost Jaden Bradley for the season, which is a massive loss for them. But like other guys, like Matt Croker, I've been quite impressed with as well. It'll be interesting to see how they play once Ponga comes back. But even a guy like Phoenix Crossan on the weekend played really, really good. And if they're like those guys, like the fill-in and the guys that aren't necessarily in your starting 13 every week can come in and perform like that, then it'll go a long way to helping the Knights get back into the finals race. So for me, 100% they have exceeded expectations so far. 7th is the Roosters. Gosh, they got to a poor start this season. Yes, they obviously lost to the Dolphins in the first round, and they beat the Warriors, but not very convincingly. They're strung a couple wins together now. Obviously, I think is 7th if for the Roosters. That's never ever good enough for them. So I'm gonna say they're failing expectations for now. Obviously, if they get a good win over the Sharks this weekend, it's a different story. Like, literally, from 7th up to 2nd are all on the same points. And it's just, like, here, like, down to, like, these guys, like, 7th, 6th. It's just a matter of, like, for and against. But in saying that, I don't think the Roosters will be very happy with having a negative for and against so early in the season. Obviously, that can be turned around. And I think in 2 weeks, they've got the Dragons. And they could absolutely torch them. So, like, yeah. Obviously, they're going to come good, and they haven't had Tedesco for a couple of weeks, and like they haven't really had continuity within their squad. But again, we've said that about a few teams so far. Like, everyone's got that issue. Like, no team goes through a whole season without any injuries or suspensions or anything. Like, it's part of the game, and it's how you adapt and overcome that is pretty much who like is going to end up winning the comp, sort of thing. Like, and who makes the finals and who doesn't. And for the Roosters, obviously, like they're so good at it, but I don't know. It just there's something that seems a little bit off about them, and it has for the last couple of years. I don't know what it is, but I mean, Angus Crichton's coming back this week in like New South Wales Cup. So is Tupanoa, Nathan Brown as well. So in a few weeks, we could be talking about a very, very different Roosters side. In 6th place, we have the Gold Coast Titans. Yes, that is correct. The Gold Coast Titans are in the top 8 and in 6th and are exceeding expectations. Like, I mean, if you talk to BKR Sport, they're failing expectations. He reckons they're going to win the comp. But yeah, I think if you're a Titans fan and they're 6th place so far this season, you're happy. They've got a positive record. They've had 3 wins, 2 losses and a bye. Negative for and against, but look, that is what it is. I think that'll balance out over the course of the season. Got a good gritty win against the Dragons on the weekend, and like it sort of shows you the difference about this squad, because usually, like I mean, the Dragons beat him in round 2. Titans usually don't really come around and like turn around that deficit, which they have like this season, which is really good for them. And they take on the Broncos this weekend, which is a huge challenge. Now, in 5th, we have the New Zealand Warriors. This is a crazy story. Like, I thought, bringing in a new coach, new signings and stuff, like they might go a bit better and be a bit more competitive. But to be 5th and taking big scales is ridiculous. I absolutely love it though. So the Warriors for sure are exceeding expectations. Andrew Webster has worked masterstrokes over there. I think he's really got Sean Johnson playing good, confident footy again, and it's great to see. Because probably one of my favourite players all time, Sean Johnson. So see him going well is like unreal for me. Jackson Ford as well is going really good. Chancellor Klukstad when he's playing has been unreal as well. Tohu Harris. All these guys are starting to really get the praise that they deserve, and the Warriors, man, I love to see it. So 5th place, keep going, wise up, baby. And again, another team that is massively exceeding expectations. The Dolphins are in 4th, and the only games they've lost this year against the Dragons when they had bloody no one, and the Broncos, and they were in it right to the end. So I think what Wayne Bennett has done with a bunch of battlers and reserve graders is honestly phenomenal, and I think it just shows like, with the Dolphins, they play with a lot of heart and on the back of their defense, and they play old school tough footy with a lot of flair as well, though, because you've got guys like the Hammer and stuff who, like the forwards are there to drain the opposition, make sure they've got no energy for then the quick guys like Hammer to come through and just annihilate people. Like, there's no way at the start of the season, if you had said Hammer and Asako would be top try scorers with 8 after 6 rounds, I'd be like, huh? What are you talking about? And the fact that like Asako is top try scorer by 24, top point scorer by over 24 points. It's phenomenal stuff, as I said, and I absolutely love to see it. It's so good that the new team has come in and been competitive, because if they had to come in and been poor, there would have been a lot of bad news, bad chatter around like whether expansion was a thing and like what the future of the NRL is, but they've come in and made it really, really good. Now in third and sneaking their way up to third is the Storm. I didn't know they were going this well. Obviously at the start of the season they had a couple like little yips there, but man, they are looking on fire. Cameron Munster's coming back now as well to play fullback for him for this weekend, and it's just like they're starting to look pretty red hot. And I think everyone's starting to will write them off, and they're just showing once again why you can never ever write off a Craig Bellamy Storm side. They've been really, really good. I don't know what to say for it. I think in-house the Storm are meeting expectations, but I'm going to say they're exceeding for what I said. I probably thought they're going to be towards the lower end of the top, like of the bottom eight. Oh, sorry, lower end of the top eight. Like I think a couple weeks ago they were tracking how I expected them to, but now like they're looking like they're absolutely humming. And I think, yeah, for me the Storm, again, one of those teams you can never count them out for the premiership. Second place, Penrith Panthers, meeting expectations. Of course, they're going to be up the top of the comp there. The last couple of weeks have been really, really clicking. I think they put 53 on the Raiders and then 44 on Manly. Like they're really starting to come into their own now. They've had a couple injuries, but they've been able to overcome that. Zach Hoskins has looked really, really good since he's come into the side. Brian Toto with the headgear is just a different beast. But yeah, Panthers, man, they're just so good. Dylan Edwards scoring 4 tries on the weekend just shows you that anyone on their day in that team can come up and just win them a game. And yeah, they could go for 3 in a row, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. So yeah, Panthers meeting expectations, of course. And for the first position, Brisbane Broncos. Obviously, they are exceeding expectations. They've only lost 1 game so far this season, and it's a game they should have won. So they should be 6-0. But look, yeah, Reece Walsh has been a revelation for them. Payne Haas playing with no injuries finally has been fantastic. Pat Carrigan as well. We've seen those videos of him, like the mic'd up stuff, showing how much of a leader and just great football brain he is. Yeah, the Broncos look scary, man. For sure, they are exceeding my expectations. And if they keep this up, look, there's a few teams going for this competition. The Broncos could definitely be there towards the very, very end of the season.